Imagine walking into a room where the lights are too bright, the smiles are too rehearsed, and the air is thick with an agenda you can't quite see, but you can feel it. That's exactly what Barron Trump sensed the moment he stepped onto the set of one of America's most watched political talk shows. This wasn't just another interview. It was a setup. A trap. And he knew it the second he shook Jennifer Reed's hand. The camera zooms in on Barron, standing tall, composed yet alert. The set of Speaking Truth with Jennifer Reed is sleek, polished, and designed for one purpose: to entertain under the guise of journalism. The audience, a mix of hand-picked guests and a few neutral observers, sits in quiet anticipation. Some are there for a spectacle. Some are there to witness a takedown. Jennifer Reed, a well-known liberal journalist with a reputation for dismantling conservative figures on live television, leans in with a practiced smile. She's done this before, too many times to count. Her voice, smooth as silk but laced with an underlying sharpness, fills the studio. "Welcome, Barron. It's not every day we get the youngest member of the Trump legacy to sit in this chair." The way she says legacy, it's not a compliment. It's a loaded statement, a subtle jab wrapped in politeness. Barron recognizes it but doesn't react. Instead, he smiles back, measured, controlled. He's been in the public eye long enough to know when someone's playing a game. The cameras capture everything: the micro-expressions, the shifts in body language, the tension crackling beneath the surface. Jennifer leans back, crossing her legs, exuding confidence. She holds the power, at least for now. The audience can sense it too. They're waiting for the moment she lands the first punch. "Before we dive in, let's talk about your journey. You've lived a life of privilege, of wealth. Do you think that makes you out of touch with everyday Americans?" The audience leans in. It's the gotcha moment they were waiting for. The subtle shift in energy is almost palpable. The question isn't about Barron's views. It's about framing him as an outsider, someone who can't possibly understand the struggles of the average American. Barron doesn't flinch. He doesn't smirk or scoff. He just breathes. A measured inhale, a calm exhale. He knows how this works. "That's an interesting perspective, Jennifer. But tell me, does being born into wealth automatically disqualify someone from caring about their country?" The response is direct, sharp. The control in his voice forces Jennifer to blink, just once, but enough for those watching closely to notice. The audience doesn't know how to react. Some nod in approval. Others shift uncomfortably. A few clap, unsure if they should. Jennifer's smile remains, but something shifts in her expression. She realizes this won't be as easy as she thought. And Barron? He knows the real game hasn't even started yet. The air in the studio changes. It's subtle. Just a flicker in Jennifer Reed's eyes, a tiny shift in the way she holds her clipboard. But Barron notices. He's been around long enough to know when a conversation is about to take a turn. Jennifer leans in, voice steady but carrying an unmistakable edge. "Well, Barron, it's not just about wealth, is it? It's about power, influence, the ability to shape narratives. And some say your family, your father especially, has built an empire on misinformation. What do you say to those who believe you're here, right now, just continuing that legacy?" There it is. The gloves are off. The audience shifts in their seats. The energy in the room tightens, like a rope being pulled from both ends. Barron exhales, slow and deliberate. He knows this game. He's seen his father play it, seen countless public figures fall into its trap. If he reacts too quickly, too emotionally, it'll be the soundbite Jennifer needs. If he hesitates, he looks weak. So he does neither. I'd say that's an interesting choice of words, Jennifer, because if anyone understands the power of shaping narratives, it's the media. The words land heavier than expected. The audience stirs. Jennifer doesn't blink, but the way she grips her pen just a little tighter, it's enough. She knows he's not going to make this easy. "That's a bold claim," she continues, her voice silkier now, deceptively casual. "But let's talk specifics. Since you bring up media narratives, let's take a look at something you've said in the past." Behind them, the massive screen flickers to life. The studio dims slightly, all eyes turning toward the glowing display. The footage rolls. A clip of Barron speaking at an event months ago, except something's off. The video is choppy, the editing precise. Phrases are cut and spliced together, making it sound as though Barron is saying something entirely different from what he actually said. The audience murmurs, heads tilting, expressions changing. This was you, wasn't it? Jennifer presses, tilting her head slightly. You said these things? Barron's jaw tightens for the briefest second, not out of panic, not out of fear, but because he knows exactly what this is. I remember that event, yes, he says, voice even. So, then, do you stand by what you said here? The audience is holding its breath. Jennifer has done this before. Countless times. The trick is simple. Take a moment out of context, put the subject on the defensive, force them to either renounce it or double down. Either way, she controls the narrative. A lesser person might scramble, might try to explain, to clarify, but Barron doesn't. Instead, he does something that no one expects. He smiles. Jennifer, let me ask you something, he says, tilting his head slightly. Are we having a conversation, or are we playing a game? The words land like a gut punch. Jennifer blinks. Because if we're having a conversation, Barron continues, then let's have one. Let's talk about the full speech. Let's talk about what was actually said, instead of what was cut and stitched together to fit a pre-planned segment. The audience murmurs again. This isn't going how Jennifer expected. She was supposed to be in control. She was supposed to be leading the charge. Or, Barron adds, leaning slightly forward now, if this is just a game, if the goal was never to understand, never to inform, but just to score points, then let's be honest about that too. Let's call it what it is. The audience shifts. Some clap, hesitantly at first, but then stronger. The tension in the room fractures, splitting into something unexpected. A divide. A crack in Jennifer's carefully structured attack. She's been doing this too long to be thrown off completely. She regains her composure quickly, shifting tactics. Look, Barron, she says, her voice softening just slightly. I'm not here to attack you. I just think the American people deserve transparency, don't you? The way she says it, the way she tilts her head just so. It's meant to make her look reasonable, like the voice of truth in the room. But Barron doesn't buy it. Transparency is a two-way street, Jennifer, he says smoothly. But it's interesting how often that word is used when what's really being asked is compliance. Transparency means honesty, not cherry-picked sound bites, not pre-packaged narratives. So let me ask you, does this show prioritize transparency or just control? The audience reacts audibly now. Some gasps, some murmurs of agreement. Even some of Jennifer's most loyal supporters shift uncomfortably. Jennifer tries to maintain her poised demeanor, but something has changed. She realizes that if she keeps pushing, she'll lose control of the narrative entirely. And that would be the ultimate defeat. She forces a smile, leaning back in her chair. Well, Barron, she says, her voice carefully neutral. It's been quite a discussion, hasn't it? It's a white flag, a retreat disguised as a segue, but everyone in the room knows what just happened. Barron smiles back. It has, he agrees. As the studio lights dim and the show goes to commercial, something unspoken lingers in the air. Jennifer turns away first, immediately engaging with her producers. Damage control. Barron, meanwhile, calmly removes his mic. He can already feel the buzz in his phone. He doesn't need to check Twitter to know his name is trending. He stands, nods to a few people in the audience who are still processing what they just saw, and walks toward the exit. What happens next? That's up to the media. Or maybe it's up to the people who watched it happen, unedited, unfiltered, in real time. The interview had barely ended when the first headlines started rolling in. Barron Trump loses it on live TV. Watch. Barron Trump humiliated by journalist Jennifer Reed. Trump legacy, entitlement on display. Barron wasn't even out of the building when his phone buzzed, not once, not twice, but over and over again, a relentless flood of notifications. His team had warned him. They're going to spin this, one of his aides had said. They already had the articles drafted before you even walked on set. And sure enough, within minutes, carefully edited clips began circulating, his words taken out of context, his calm responses replaced with strategic jump cuts designed to make him look rattled, defensive, arrogant. Jennifer Reed had lost the debate. But she knew how to win the media war. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, every platform was on fire. One side cheered. Finally, someone stood up to the media's manipulation. Barron destroyed her. Watch the full interview, people. This is exactly why no one trusts mainstream media anymore. But the other side, they had a different story to tell. Another spoiled rich kid who can't handle tough questions. If he's this defensive now, imagine what he'll be like in politics. He thinks he's his father, but he's just another privileged brat. And then, the worst part. Less than an hour after the interview, a heavily edited version of the debate hit primetime television. The footage was carefully cut to make it look like Barron had lost his temper. His calm, collected response, gone. His devastating counterattack, removed. The moment Jennifer had visibly faltered, nowhere to be found. Instead, the version the media pushed showed Jennifer asking a fair question, followed by a jump cut to Barron leaning forward, tone sharper than before, as if he was unraveling under pressure. The caption? Trump's son melts down in front of millions. But here's what they didn't expect. Jennifer Reed wasn't the only one recording. Audience members inside the studio had filmed the full, unedited version of the debate. Independent journalists started analyzing the clear manipulations in the mainstream version. People who saw the interview in real time began calling out the deception. And then, Barron made his move. He posted the entire uncut interview himself. No dramatic caption, no long-winded defense. Just a simple message. See for yourself. The moment the video went live, everything shifted. Hashtags started trending. Watch the full interview. Media lies exposed. Barron vs. the press. Comments flooded in. Holy crap, the way they edited this is disgusting. Watch the full thing. Jennifer got wrecked. They cut the best parts out on purpose. Barron played this perfectly. Calm, collected, and let the truth speak for itself. Jennifer Reed's team scrambled to control the damage. Her Twitter feed exploded with replies exposing the manipulation. Her own audience started questioning her credibility. Even some left-leaning journalists had to admit something was off. One well-respected political commentator tweeted, "Look, I don't support Barron, but the way they cut this interview is straight-up propaganda. Watch the full clip." And that's when Jennifer made her biggest mistake. Instead of addressing the backlash, she doubled down. She posted a carefully worded statement. "I was simply doing my job, asking the tough questions. The backlash I'm receiving is just another example of the dangers female journalists face every day." But this time, the internet wasn't buying it. Replies roasted her. "This isn't about gender. You got exposed for manipulating the truth. Stop playing the victim and take responsibility for your lies. If it was just journalism, why did you cut the best parts out?" Jennifer had lost twice now. First, in the actual debate. Second, in the court of public opinion. With everything unfolding, Barron had one last move. He posted one final message. "This was never about me. It was about the truth. And now, you all see it for yourselves. No long argument, no defensive stance, just pure, undeniable clarity." And with that, he let the internet do the rest. Now, the real question is, what do you think? Was this just another example of media bias, or did Jennifer Reed have a point? Let's settle this debate in the comments below. Hit the like button if you believe in exposing the truth. Drop a comment with your take. Who won this showdown? And don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns of media manipulation, free speech, and stories the mainstream won't tell you. As Barron walked out of the studio, his phone still buzzing, he knew one thing for certain. This wasn't the end. Not even close. The sun had barely risen over Manhattan, but the battle was still raging online. News anchors debated the fallout. Podcasters dissected every frame. Political commentators picked sides, each crafting their own version of what had happened. Barron Trump, meanwhile, sat in his quiet apartment, coffee in hand, phone buzzing with notifications every few seconds. He wasn't scrolling. He wasn't watching the coverage, because he already knew. He had seen this play out before, countless times. His father had warned him. They don't want a discussion, son. They want a villain, and if they can't find one, they'll create one. Jennifer Reed's media allies tried to keep her afloat. Some doubled down, insisting Barron had been combative and refused to answer simple questions. Others shifted tactics, claiming the outrage over the edited clips was a distraction from the real issues. A few even tried to ignore the controversy altogether, hoping it would fade away. But here's the thing about truth. Once people see it, they don't forget. And this time, too many had seen it. The unedited interview had racked up millions of views. People from all sides of the political spectrum called out the deception. The damage was done. Not to Barron, to them. A week later, Jennifer sat across from her own network's host, her expression tense, her usual confidence noticeably absent. "Jennifer, let's address the elephant in the room," the host said, clearing his throat. "The edited clips from your interview with Barron Trump. They've sparked quite a backlash. Do you regret how it was handled?" For the first time in her career, Jennifer hesitated. Her usual rehearsed responses wouldn't work here. The full truth was out there. The internet had receipts. She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I think," she said slowly, "that the reaction to this has been exaggerated. The important thing is that we continue asking tough questions." The host nodded, but the damage control effort was weak. Because no one was buying it anymore. Back at his apartment, Barron leaned against his desk, staring out at the city skyline. He wasn't celebrating. There was nothing to celebrate. Sure, he had won this battle, but this wasn't just about him. This was about a system, one where the media had more power than the truth itself. His phone buzzed again, a message from an old friend, someone he hadn't talked to in years. "Man, I never thought I'd say this, but you actually handled that interview like a pro. Respect." Barron smirked, not because he needed validation, but because he knew what that message really meant. It meant that someone who never agreed with him before had watched the full interview. And that was the real victory. Barron sat back, exhaling slowly. He had learned something from this, something his father, his family, and so many before him had already figured out. The truth doesn't always win, but the fight for it is always worth it. He wasn't naive. He knew the game now. They'd try again. The media would find someone else to target. They'd create another narrative, another scandal, another villain. Because that's what they do. But this time, more people were paying attention. More people saw through the lies. And next time? They'd question. They'd think. They'd watch the full video. So now, it's up to you. Do you think the media has too much power in shaping what we believe? Do you think this was just another case of misinformation? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you believe in fighting for the truth. Drop a comment. Do you think Jennifer should face consequences for what happened? And make sure to subscribe for more content that challenges the mainstream narrative. Because if we don't question the stories we're being told, who controls what we believe?